5, 6, 7, 8.
Kenny. Let's talk
Ortega.
about Kenny Ortega.
What a man.
What a man, what a man, what a man. Let's talk about it. All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Gilmore to Say with Tara and Haley. I'm Tara. This is Haley. Hi, Haley.
Hi, Tara.
Oh, spear fingers.
Got jazz hands.
Yeah, a little jazz hand action today.
For Kenny.
For Kenny. Yeah, how perfect. How fitting.
Yes.
We are so excited today to dive into some Kenny Ortega episodes after last week's deep dive on Amy and Dan episodes because there's a lot of crossover there. But before we dive into Kenny Ortega, I want to answer the question that we kind of left on a cliffhanger at the end of last week's episode, which was putting Amy and Dan episodes from season 2 up against each other. And we landed on the Bracebridge dinner versus a Tisket a Tasket. A very, very challenging conundrum, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, how do you choose between
had
those
an
two
answer
episodes?
to?
What was your answer?
Bracebridge, right?
And the people said the same. At first, a Tisket
Can I
a
tell you I
Tasket
voted
was
in the poll?
You did? I didn't.
I voted for Bracebridge. Not that my vote was like the deciding vote.
I know.
I did
Still,
vote
it's
for
just
it.
so funny. No, it was pretty stark. At first, honestly, a Tisket a Tasket was surpassing. And then when I checked a couple hours later.
Bracebridge was winning.
Yeah. A couple hours later, I was like,
okay.
oh, Bracebridge is like far and beyond people's answer, which I found really fascinating. And because I wasn't sure where it was going to go, I know that you thought Bracebridge was going to kind of.
I said the girlies were going to pick Bracebridge.
Love Bracebridge, and I totally understand. Oh my God, wait! Actually, I have to tell you about my friend Amy and her journey that I told you about last week. Okay, so yesterday we were at work and I said, "How are the girls?" And she was like, "Good. I just watched the episode where, the town." I was like, "The Bracebridge dinner." She goes, "Yes, what a great episode."
We're the town.
We're the town,
like,
and I just immediately knew. She was like, "Yes, what a sweet episode. I loved that episode. It's cozy. There's a sleigh." I was like, "Yeah, exactly." And so we, do our day work shift together. And so she was like, "I'll be watching." She like watches it while she does day work. And so she comes downstairs like towards the end of our call and she's sitting there kind of like taking a little break. And I can see that she's watching a Tisket a Tasket. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited for her. So I'm in the bathroom and she comes in. She has it on. And that's what I love is that like she's taking it with her everywhere she goes. And I can see that she's
so Tara 2005.
Under the covers, in the bathroom. Yeah. They come with me everywhere. It's truly the portable DVD player. The iPhone is the portable DVD player of our time.
Portable. Yes. Yes.
So Amy comes in and I see that she's on the scene where Suki and Jackson are laying on the picnic blanket. And she goes, "If these two are an endgame," and she goes to walk away and she goes, because he in that moment engaged. Said, "I think we should get married." She stood there for like a good second and was like, "Oh my God." I was like, yeah, right?
Yeah.
I just love it so much. I love like being on this journey with her, kind of like,
Wait, I kind of wish you could have given her like a poll in the moment, like this or that. And Amy was like the deciding factor.
Wait. Oh my God, I totally should have. But of course,
that's where I thought that was going.
No, I didn't watch our episode like for review.
Yeah.
For that refresher until after I got home from work yesterday. And so, damn, I should have asked her. Oh man, well, we'll report back, but it was just
we'll never see her again,
and we'll never saw her again.
No, ask her next week at work.
I should. Well, I'll ask her tomorrow. I'll probably see her tomorrow or Sunday.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It was just so sweet that she was like, oh, "These two better be endgame."
And you're like,
in that moment, girl. It happened. It was really, really cute. But those two episodes are so strong, especially for season 2. And but the people have spoken, and it is Bracebridge dinner, and I think that kind of makes it Dan's season. Dan had some really strong episodes. Like listening to that episode and also doing that episode with you last week made me want to like do a deep dive on Daniel Palladino because we've done a deep dive on Amy.
Yeah.
I feel like we have to do a deep dive on Dan.
I want the Dan deep dive to be with Dan.
I know.
I want Amy, of course. I want Dan.
Icons.
The silent hero who's like not silent at all.
No, not silent at all, but
less credited because everyone always talks about how this is Amy's show.
Amy,
of course.
Amy.
But
he is so so crucial to the show's success.
That other 3-letter name.
It's true.
Daniel.
Yeah,
Six
jury's still out.
letters?
But anyway,
We'll have to ask
I
him.
wanted to give a report back because the people have spoken, and
Love you,
Bracebridge
people.
Dinner is the winner. I
Who
didn't
would
mean
have
for that
thought
to rhyme.
me?
Who would have thought
This-
Haley of all people voting for
I'm
Bracebridge Dinner at a poll?
Yeah, like fighting for it.
But I have to tell you, I got to the part where we were talking about a Tisket a Tasket. I think it was versus I Can't Get Started. And I went on and on and on about Tisket a Tasket because I was like, I'm sorry, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. And I was like, all right. I feel very passionate. Even though I love the Bracebridge Dinner. Love
Mop
her.
my brow.
Yeah. I was like,
Dab the sweat off
a little bit
after
of a
that.
sweat there. Yeah, but it was really, by the end of listening to the episode, I still didn't know where I stand. And to be honest with you, as I sit here with you all today, I have no idea where I stand. I love them both.
As I sit.
I sit.
I can't even stand.
Yeah.
No, like it's whatever. You can pick both. That's
Thank
the
you.
joy and the beautiful journey of our podcast.
Exactly.
And everything we do.
It's
Not really
nothing's that
mattering
serious.
all that much.
Nothing's really that serious here.
There's no rules. You can, we make the rules and there are no rules.
This
You can
is our
choose
place.
both.
We make the rules. Anyway, I actually, speaking of this is our place, we make the rules. Do you want to give the girlies a little insight to how you feel about Taylor Swift's new album? Because we have not recorded an episode since last week, since you listened.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I think it's so fun.
It's such a fun time. I have not see. My problem is I listened at midnight, of course, naturally. Famously have low frequency hearing loss. Missed a lot of it when I first listened. Saw the lyric videos at the movie theater later that night. Blew my mind. Those songs changed completely. Found out what they were about. And then since then, specifically Would. No, but like specifically Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh, sure.
I thought she was spelling words in that song. No, she was saying words. And she didn't spell anything even one time. I was trying to figure out. I have a reaction video on YouTube if you want to watch me literally so confused at what is even happening.
Yeah.
But to that effect, I've really only listened to The Fate of Ophelia and Elizabeth Taylor. I haven't moved past it. But pod fave is Would.
Oh God.
Our fave.
It's
Like what a bop.
What a bop.
What a fun time. There's nothing but bops about it.
Quite literally.
Did you see, do you follow New Heights? Okay, Jason Kelsey
I loved
asked
that
Travis,
lyric was in there.
Yes, New Heights of Manhood. Well, speaking of New Heights of Manhood, Jason asked Travis specifically about that song, how he felt about it. And he was like, I love anytime she mentions me, love her. And he was like, no, but that one specifically,
Yeah.
because he said if anyone wrote a song in the style of Would about him, it would be more about less redwood tree and more like ornamental bush. I was
My
crying.
jaw's on the floor.
He said it ain't hard to see. He said it takes some time before you can see it. And I was like, Jason?
This
my
is
God.
not safe for work.
This is not tea for work. New Heights of Manhood.
Damn.
But yeah, I was like,
That's crazy.
This is really what we need. We need your brother roasting you.
Yeah.
On
Hilarious.
the internet. That's what I love. But
Hilarious.
yeah, no, I'm having a good time. I think
Good.
it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's one of those albums that everyone has an opinion about and
sure.
hates. And that's been all of her albums that she's ever released. So in about 2 months, when you guys are vibing
Loving
so
it.
hard.
Yeah.
Like no one liked Reputation when it came out, and now everyone's like, "Oh my god,
You're so
I would
right.
die without
Wait, you're
Reputation."
so
Taylor's
right.
version.
Reputation. I didn't like Reputation when it first came out.
Look at that.
And I think that there are a lot of bops on that album. I didn't have an appreciation for it is really what it is. So maybe there will be like a residual appreciation for this album.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's fun. Not every single album or song that this woman produces is going to be like
your fave,
your fave, and that's okay.
your number one. That's okay. That's totally fine. She's released songs that are not my number one, not even my number
She's released
two.
albums that I'm not like a huge fan of, but
You know,
I don't know. I thought it was great.
I thought we were having fun, everyone.
Having a good time.
But
Yeah.
we will probably for my birthday episode, we'll do a little.
We'll
Life
do
of
a deeper
Showgirl.
dive. Yeah. I just wanted to
Which-
like have you share with the people some of your initial thoughts
Yes.
who haven't seen your video, who may not follow you on Instagram.
on the gram.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, love it. Marked safe from being a hater is what I said.
I know. It's so funny.
Which I love it. But on our Instagram, I posted like the life of a showgirl being Kelly Bishop, which like a lot of people really loved that. But it's like when you think of it, because like in that song, it's just her name was Kitty. She made her money being pretty and witty, and I was like, that's so Kelly Bishop.
That's so Kelly
like,
Bishop.
From like Radio City, Dirty Dancing, like her ballet days, like just looking at her life through the lens of the third Gilmore Girl.
Oh, so
she
good.
is the life of a showgirl.
She truly
hands
is.
down.
Like, you want to see the life of a showgirl or hear about it or read
Listen to her
about
book,
it.
read her book.
Listen to the
Yeah.
book, read the book. I have something to actually tell you off pod
Ooh,
after this is over. Secrets about
a secret?
No, it's not a secret. It's just like an exciting new development that I'm very excited to tell you about off pod.
Okay.
That pertains to that. But speaking of Dirty Dancing, let's talk about Kenny Ortega.
Yeah, I was like, wait, were we? We were.
So you're talking about Kelly
Oh my
Bishop.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kelly Bishop, speaking of Dan Palladino, let's talk about Kenny Ortega.
Yes.
Kenneth Ortega, if you will.
Yes. The man
I
formerly
remember-
known as Kenneth.
Kenneth. I mentioned that because, so I actually tried to go back and listen to this because when you were here at my house, we watched the DVD commentary for You Jump, I Jump Jack, which he directed. And there is Amy and Dan commentary on it. And when Kenny's name pops up, they're like, oh, our friend Kenneth Ortega. And I remembered that. So I wanted to go back and listen to it. But famously, I have an issue with my DVD box set at the moment.
Famously, you do.
Famously, which disc 2 is stuck in the Blu-ray player and it won't give it back. It won't turn on and it won't play it.
So
But
weird.
the disc 2 in the box set right now is the movie, the feature film Titanic, which is quite funny of a reference because on disc 2 is You Jump, I Jump Jack. So like
Correct.
after the 4th episode, which is Tippecanoe and Taylor 2 in season 5, you then have to watch Titanic and then switch to episode 9.
Famously
So-
the way it goes.
that's a different way of watching season 5. So I couldn't go back and watch the DVD commentary to hear more about what they had to say on Kenneth Ortega, and I really wanted to because no matter how many different ways I searched Kenny Ortega, Amy Sherman Palladino, Dan Palladino, Gilmore Girls, it was so hard to find anything of either of them commenting on the other person's work, on their time on the show, that person, either of them working on the show. And I was like, oh, dang, we're just going to have Amy and Dan and Kenny on to reveal their history here together, which we want to do. Fingers crossed. Everyone send out good vibes into the universe that we can get all three of those people on. Maybe not together, though that would be fun. I never thought about that till now.
We have been in touch with Kenny's people.
People.
It's in the
of Kenny.
works.
It's hopefully in the works. Hopefully we'll have it. We were hoping.
We were hoping for this week, but it didn't work out that
but
way, and that's fine. I'd
it
rather
didn't
do a
work.
deep dive first, and then because there are so many questions I have after doing this deep
Yes.
dive that I can only ask him.
Yeah, and that was kind of like us with Grantley Phillips.
Yeah, totally.
Afterwards, we were like, we don't want to like inundate him with like this like
With an episode that we'd
long
like
history.
to do, yeah, with like
Yeah.
the deep dive analysis, totally.
Yeah. So we're doing the Kenny deep dive before the Kenny conversation that we're manifesting because it's in the works, but has not been confirmed. So
works. Yeah,
it's in the works. I don't know. I did a little shimmy with that.
It was for Kenny. That's
it
how
was
the
for
manifest.
Kenny.
It's like
That
a rain
was-
dance. Except
Yeah,
it's a
that was
shimmy.
my Kenny shimmy. Hey, Kenny. His name was Kenny.
Yes, exactly.
But anyway, I did a little book report, a little Kenny Ortega book report.
Lay it on me.
And I had such a fun time hearing him talk and just about his work and just doing sort of a deep dive. I loved finding out he's from California. His grandparents are Spanish immigrants. And when he was in high school, he was a cheerleader and in the drama department.
Hell
and I was
yeah.
like,
that is so
I was
Brett
like,
Thiel.
that's so Brett Thiel. That's so High School
That's so-
Musical. It just
yeah.
like
That's
it
so
just made
us.
so much sense. It's so us. Yeah. I was like, this just
We
feels
are
so
Kenny
right.
Ortega.
We as a collective, all of us, we are Kenny Ortega.
Yeah, which feels so Gilmore Girls as well, to be like a theater kid. Maybe you were a cheerleader. I don't know. Lane Kim was for one episode.
Kim
like,
was.
you know.
One episode. Exactly. But he was like an actor dancer, but I don't know if it like didn't work out. It didn't really say in any of the articles that I read about him why he switched.
Based on what I deduced, he was offered some performing opportunities, but really gravitated towards choreography. Which you really like being engaged, betrothed, if you will, to a dancer. Like there is a very vast difference between like being a dancer and being a choreographer. And if you have that knack, if you have the ability to envision, I mean, it does fall in line with the director trajectory, because you do have to be able to picture things in your mind, picture a very clear choreographed picture in your mind, a full step-by-step process. That takes a very specific lens, literally, within your brain to be able to envision
very
that.
Clear eye, very clear, like your mind's eye has to be very clear about what's happening to be able to see all of these things. And it's not just being a good dancer in the slightest. But his first choreography credit for a major motion picture was Xanadu with Olivia Newton-John and
which
Gene
is
Kelly.
so cool. And Gene Kelly. Imagine being mentored by Gene Kelly.
I just like the thought of like choreographing for them and they become your mentors during that, because he said that Olivia Newton-John was around his age when he was doing it, so they both really took him under their wing, and I was like,
that's so cute. There's a really beautiful photo of them like rehearsing something. I love that. We'll have to post that on our Instagram, because
honestly, we should do a little Kenny retrospect.
We should.
The life of a showgirl, for real.
Oh my God, truly. Talk about the life of a showgirl.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
what a perfect time to talk about that.
What a perfect time.
What a perfect episode.
He really is life of a showgirl.
Yeah.
But he's done a lot of things. He's directed, he's choreographed, he's done music videos, he's done feature films, he's done TV films, and one like very notable ones, of course, Xanadu was the first. He did Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I was so shocked by that. I was like, what? Pretty in
then,
Pink?
Like, you
St. Elmo's
then
Fire?
You see it.
What?
Yeah. But like, so he and John Hughes had a really strong relationship.
Clearly.
And so it was, I can't remember what outlet it was. I think it was ET. I think it was Entertainment Tonight. We're doing like a retrospect with him on all of his films, and he was seeing them. And he just was talking about how cool it was and like how nervous. Oh my gosh, what is his name? Who plays Ferris Bueller? Matthew Broderick. See, I knew it.
Also a theater, like a Broadway baby.
But he said he was so nervous that like he hadn't really ever like danced like this before. And he was like, I got you. And he said, nicest man alive. And I just like watching Kenny rewatch this, I was like, this man is like, honestly seems like the kindest, sweetest man alive. Because every instance of him like remembering these things, he's like one of the greatest memories of my life. And I just love I love the idea of someone having like so many greatest memories of their life, and that's really what
so
it
many
like.
accolades to accompany those things, and he's still like so grateful, humble, happy.
Yeah,
I love that,
and I think that so many of us associate him with High School Musical.
A lot of
course,
millennials
we'll get to.
associate him with High School Musical.
Well, I say so many of us because like I imagine a lot of us being the same age, because it really is dependent on your age what you remember Kenny Ortega for, because it's like Kenny Ortega he transitioned to Disney in the 90s after doing Dirty Dancing, and he said that he was friends with Patrick Swayze through his whole life, and him and Jennifer Grey are still friends, and that like he really tried to choreograph to Patrick's capabilities because he had a really bad knee. Me and Patrick are on the same wavelength there. I also have a bad knee.
Yes.
But he said that like at the end when he's like on his knees like swinging around, he was like in agony because his knee hurt so bad, and came up to him and he was like, just one more. If everyone isn't in their place, I only have one more to give. Yeah. And so he was like a true professional because of that. But he talked about how like Dirty Dancing really was like the language of the movie was dance. And so thinking about that and reflecting back on Kelly Bishop's memoir and how she like was suddenly placed into this role that was like she had a small role and then was suddenly her mom, to imagine that she like just kind of suddenly ended up there is insane because of like her history of dance.
Yeah.
It just feels like she would be there.
Yeah.
And he didn't mention her in it because like they never mentioned Gilmore Girls in this interview, which I was really surprised by. But
when did this interview take place?
I don't have a date for it.
Recently,
but it was definitely recent.
Okay.
It was like within the last couple of years.
Oh wow.
It's definitely a recent one.
Wow.
Yeah, because they talked about that. Because then they were talking about his movies, but then they also talked a lot about his music videos because he did Material Girl by Madonna.
Yes, he
did. And like other artists he did Cher, Selena, Elton John, Diana Ross, Gloria Estefan, Gladys Knight. And a lot of people confuse him for his work with Michael Jackson, because he didn't actually direct or choreograph any of his individual music videos, but he was the director and the creative director for his world tours.
Yeah, starting with the Dangerous tour in the early 90s, which is wild.
Crazy. Yeah. And as he was talking about Madonna, because Material Girl was like right before she like made it like as big as Madonna is now, that Madonna reminded him of Michael because of her commitment to the work, that like she was the first one there, she was the last one to leave, she wanted to do it until it was perfect, and she was like committing to getting it right. And when he was talking about Madonna and Michael Jackson, immediately I thought of Amy Sherman Palladino,
100%.
which is like maybe the weirdest sentence I've ever said on this podcast. Know. But I was like, that makes so much sense why he would like appreciate working with the Palladinos.
Yeah, because they're going to do it until they get it done right. Until
it's exactly how they want it. And I can understand why they then
gravitate towards him is his work ethic, you know, working with someone like Patrick Swayze on Dirty Dancing and them doing it until it's right, even though Patrick had like one left in him with this with the knee action. It's like, okay, let's do it. Yeah. But it's got to be done right.
It's got to be done right. And he seems like someone who's so game, who's like so committed to the artist's vision in his own vision, and that like it's like, this is what you see, we're going to do it until it's right. So when he was talking about Madonna, I was like, oh, Amy. I was like, that's quite simply wild to compare Amy Sherman Palladino to Madonna or Michael Jackson, but it was just the work ethic that it reminded me of, which, not to bring Taylor Swift into this at all, but it did remind me of the behind the scenes of her music video where she was like, that was perfect, but I have more to give, I'm going to do this one more time. And it just seemed like that the people who are like notable in that way really are just so committed to not it being perfect, but you having given everything that you could to that perfect moment. Yeah. And if you know that you have more to give, you're just going to keep doing it until you're depleted and you feel like you have done everything you could. Yeah. So I feel like that really aligns for all of those people. But it just like, I feel like it really reflected on Kenny in all of those moments.
Yeah, 100%.
But then he moved on to Disney and he did some of
but before he did that, his first television directorial debut was the series Dirty Dancing.
For the Dirty Dancing, yeah.
Which I did not know that existed. And you know who plays Baby? Melora Hardin. Jan from The Office. Linny, for those in the know.
She is more Kevin Bacon than anyone else. She is in everything. 6 Degrees of Melora Hardin.
Yeah, truly. Like, somebody that is the female version of 6 Degrees
that is
from
the
Kevin
new
Bacon.
Standard.
Yes.
Like, I love her. Yeah. I love knowing that. Wait, now I want to watch it.
Okay, it's on YouTube. I found it. I watched a little bit of it this morning.
Oh, how was it? How was she as Baby?
Oh, she was, I mean, like I skimmed because obviously there was a lot to kind of take in here and digest.
You're not going to sit and watch the full series for this episode.
Not for this episode, but I will sit down and watch that whole series.
I want to.
It's basically meant to be like a continuation of what happened after the Dirty Dancing film. They basically take they condense the storyline of the Dirty Dancing film into the first episode, at least what I gathered from skimming it. And they like kind of established the relationship between Frances Baby and Patrick Swayze's character and
Johnny.
Thank you. I was like, what's his name? And then there's just, they kind of expand on it. And so I didn't notice anybody from the original movie in there, but Time of My Life
Johnny?
Is, oh gosh, his name I think was also Patrick, but not Patrick Swayze. And did you ever see Teen Witch? The movie Teen Witch?
So.
Do you remember the top that girl? Her friend? Okay. Her friend was played by this actress named Mandy Ingber, and she's also in it. And so I was like, yes, I love that. If anybody is a Teen Witch fan out there, you remember the top that. That's her.
I don't remember it. That's okay. I don't know who this man is. He's in some things I've seen, but I don't like recognize him right off the bat. It felt
like he felt recognizable to me. Wasn't like,
if I actually recognized him.
Oh, he's been in that. Yeah. But he looked recognizable to me. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was really fun.
Hardin. That was what mattered.
Of course. And I thought that crossover was really cool. I also really love that, like, there's obviously a lot of choreography in that. It's an expansion. And the expansion, Suki. It's an extension.
Someone on our Patreon said anytime you say expansion and you don't actually
acknowledge
the reference, they get really sad.
I'm sorry. Well, I aim to please. So there you go.
That's all you can do.
It is an extension of the Dirty Dancing film, which of course was super iconic. But there's also a lot of choreography in there. There were some scenes that reminded me of the dance marathon in that like you're kind of zoomed out to all of the couples dancing and then you zero in on one couple. And so I'm excited to kind of talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
But before
do we
that,
have to have Melora Hardin on?
yes, I want to
feel
talk
like
to her
that's our new
so
dream
bad.
guest.
I feel
That's
like
our new dream guest.
we should definitely talk to her and be like, you don't understand how integral you are.
How iconic
How iconic you are to this podcast. I digress. So after Dirty Dancing, he moves into Disney.
And he does some of the most iconic
Oh my
Disney.
God.
He did Newsies with Christian Bale.
Which
Hocus
did you
Pocus?
realize like flopped
No.
when it first came out?
No.
It has like a very low % on Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm like, this movie is cult classic.
Wow.
Hocus Pocus.
Well,
also
speaking of things that didn't do well when it came out, Gilmore Girls didn't have much of an audience. It's way more popular now. It didn't flop.
I was
Gilmore
gonna
Girls
say,
did not flop.
no.
It was not award winning in any way. It didn't have huge numbers in terms of ratings. Like it took it going on streaming.
It takes some time. Yeah.
It took some
for
time,
sure.
but 25 years later, it's way more popular than it ever was.
Yeah,
when it was
100%
on air.
But Hocus Pocus is also like, iconic.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized he directed that.
I know. But did you know that he didn't direct Hocus Pocus 2?
Yes, I did.
I didn't know that until he said, well, I didn't direct Hocus Pocus 2. It was really sad they didn't bring me back. But if they wanted to do Hocus Pocus 3, I'd come back.
Wow.
And I was like, Kenny, how did they not ask you back?
I'm surprised
you were
by
probably
that.
busy. You have quite a bit going on.
He has a lot going on, but still.
Yeah. But he also, of course, did High School Musical, did the High School Musical trilogy.
I feel like many millennials, Gen Z, that is maybe how you were introduced. I'm just going to speak for myself. That's how I was really introduced to who Kenny Ortega was. Again, I had seen Hocus Pocus. Prior to that, I'd seen Dirty Dancing prior to that, but I didn't know who he was until High School Musical. High School Musical had a chokehold on me.
Do not even talk to me about 7th grade and Zac Efron. It like ruined my life. That was the worst thing that ever happened to me.
It was the best. I was obsessed with Zac Efron.
So obsessed.
That was truly the age of Zac Efron because
that was really the advent of my obsessive personality to the degree that it was.
Wait, so true. That and Gilmore Girls kind of walked hand in hand. I started watching Gilmore Girls in like 2004.
Shortly before that.
Yeah. So like for 2006 to have High School Musical emerge and then High School Musical 2, Hairspray, High School Musical 3. Oh my God. I listened to that soundtrack ad nauseum. And that came out my senior year. So I was like, oh. Ooh. And I think part of the reason why I associate him so heavily with that movie is because the like Disney promo, like there was a lot of like behind the scenes that Disney did and put in like commercial breaks or it was like the behind the scenes special where Kenny was talking. And so I like very closely associated him with that because it was like my first real introduction to him and like having him talk about it in the way that he did, hearing him talk about High School Musical in this like retrospect they did. He loved it so much. He told them, he said, if the Disney marketing department does what they need to do, all of your lives are about to change. Because he like felt it in the room what this was. And apparently Zac Efron was going to like quit auditioning after this. Like this was his last audition because him and his mom couldn't keep up with like the drive that it took to do all of this. Wow.
It was like an hour in, 2 hours out. And so this was like Zach's big thing. This is like
their big break.
Disney.
Kenny,
but all of the people in it.
Zach and I'm thinking like Vanessa, who was
Ashley
Vanessa
Tisdale.
Ann Hudgens when she first started.
Vanessa Ann.
the little Miss Ann. Ashley Tisdale, it just all of them. Corbin Bleu.
Corbin Bleu.
I think about the fact that like their careers just absolutely exploded. After that.
Yeah,
so I'm proud of the Disney marketing team for doing their job.
I know. I'm quite proud. And I think that the Disney marketing team marketed Kenny Ortega to me too.
Totally.
And so like in all of those, but also millennials, he did Cheetah Girls.
Cheetah Girls 2.
Cheetah Girls 2. But like still just as good as the first. So please.
Love the Cheetah Girls.
When they're in Barcelona.
That's right. Oh my God, I forgot. I haven't seen that in so long.
Yeah, but if you're a little bit younger than us, then you probably were in on The Descendants.
The Descendants, yeah.
Which is like, I feel like just like a few years younger than us. It's like their High School Musical because like there's like 5 of those. It's like Dove Cameron, and that one really exploded. And that's how I know that this was like a recent interview, because it was like the 10th anniversary of Descendants that they were doing this for. Okay. So I know that it was like recent, but he also moved from there and went to Netflix and did Julie and the Phantoms. And in the article that I read from 2024, what he was working on was a reimagining of Phantom of the Opera for Disney Plus. So
cool.
I know that he's been in like England or something recently. So I didn't know if that's what he was working on. So that's kind of everything that he has done.
Abridged.
The abridged version of Kenny Ortega, the book report of Kenny Ortega that we submitted to our teacher.
Yeah.
You.
You are our teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's done so much. He's so accomplished, and like, especially the, you know, obviously everything he's done, but I also just couldn't believe how close he was to Michael Jackson, and
I know
all of the tours that he did from the early 90s on, like literally up until Michael's unexpected passing with the This Is It tour, which then ended up becoming a film because of everything that
Kenny did. Kenny wrote, directed, and produced This Is Us. This Is Us. Not
This Is Us. No, different.
This Is It.
Very different. This Is It.
This Is Us is actually the One Direction documentary.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah. But he's just a very accomplished human being. It's so wonderful to hear that he's just like an all-around nice guy. Anybody who I've met who's worked with him has also said the same thing about him, just sings his praises, says he's great. So,
but he also directed a lot of TV in this. He directed Ally McBeal on top of Gilmore Girls. He did some Bunheads as well, which makes sense because it's a dance show. I did wonder if they were going to bring him in for Etoile, but
I also wondered if they were going to bring him in for Maisel, and I didn't see him listed there for Maisel. But I'm sure he had other things. I think that was really right in the thick of him doing Descendants. Who's to say?
Yeah.
But I saw on like an Instagram post of his from many moons ago that he was very supportive of them as they got all their accolades from Maisel.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're clearly still big fans of each other. But yes, amidst directing a lot of like individual television episodes, it was like 1 here, 1 there, 2 here, 2 there. The most amount of television episodes that he directed for a series was for Gilmore Girls, and it was 12 episodes from 2002 to 2006. Which I think is so special. I love that they were able to develop a relationship, especially because Amy and Dan are so specific, so particular, and they like to make sure everything is done to the best of its ability, that they brought in someone like Kenny. And really that started with season 3, episode 7, the 50th episode. They shoot Gilmore's, don't they? Which no surprise at all that he was the director for that, because it is so... the choreography of that episode... It is about the dancing.
It is essential.
It's essential because it's a dance marathon episode. The actual movement of the episode and the flow of the episode is also really crucial too. And Kenny had the right eye for that. And I'm so glad that, you know, I'm speculating here, but if they took a chance on collaborating together for this being their first work together, that it then led to this relationship where he directed, I'm going to say 11 episodes with them, because the 12th episode was season 7.
But I feel like for the most part, when you see Kenny's name pop up in the credits, in like the opening credits, as the dialogue is rolling through, you see directed by Kenneth Ortega. You're like, oh, this is about to be a bop. This is going to be a good episode. You're anticipating it just being really good. For the most part.
But I was so surprised at some of the episodes that he directed, because I was like, huh?
Because sometimes I feel like they bring him in because they're wanting to move through the episode differently.
Totally.
They have something that is happening, like with Dance Marathon or a big event, or they're wanting the camera to be a very specific way that he has a really good eye for. But there's some of them that you're like, you check in and you're like, oh, this is Kenny Ortega episode. Kenny Ortega directed television today.
Yeah.
He got up today and he just directed television.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else does. But it's still, I think that it's few and far between that the episode kind of like falls a little flat.
Well, you're intrigued by the decision-making process on who directs an episode. And I have a lot to say as we move through it because obviously, as I said before, the choreography of an episode goes beyond just dance or music.
Just on dancing, yes.
And that's blocking. It's the blocking. And that's why Amy and Dan are, you can tell oftentimes, not just within the writing of an episode, but in the direction of an episode, what is an Amy episode, what's a Dan episode. Especially with Amy, I do feel like she likes a lot of those singular shots, those shots that just move through the entire sequence. And it's not until you're like a few minutes in that you're like, oh my God, we haven't cut yet. If you're like really watching it with that discerning eye. And I think that having a partner like Kenny at the helm as the director of an episode like that is important because I have a feeling that that's a very specific style that, you know, I don't necessarily have my finger on the pulse of what modern television is doing right now per se, but I do think it's a very specific style that not a lot of people lean into as hard as the Palladinos did with Gilmore Girls.
They lean into it really hard. Yeah. And I feel like having someone behind the camera who can probably really adapt to your vision really easily and like see what you're going for. But the thing that I find so interesting, like fun fact about Kenny's first episode, which as you said is They Shoot Gilmores, Don't They? That aired on November 12th, 2002. What Kenny was also doing in 2002 was choreographing the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City.
He won
a primetime Emmy
for? Yeah.
Crazy. Like, that's like what his 2002 was. He was like, yeah, I choreographed the opening ceremony of the Olympics. I did this episode of Gilmore Girls. Like, his career is just kind of wild, the things that he goes back and forth between.
Wow.
Like,
good for him.
Good for him.
That's
good for you, Kenny.
Crazy.
Yeah. But I feel like no episode more so than They Shoot Gilmore's really makes sense because so much of that episode is the dance marathon.
Yeah.
But so much of it is like allowing the characters who need to shine while everyone else in the background
is moving around them.
Yeah. Is moving around them, making sure that they're hitting where they need to be. The runaround. I feel like you needed a true choreographer as a director to do something like that and still always pull focus to the main characters.
Yes, absolutely. And I tried to find ways to kind of make that style applicable to the following episode, which was a deep fried Korean Thanksgiving. And that was a Dan and Kenny combo, which
the best. They are the best duo.
They're a really good duo.
Love Amy and Dan, but Dan and Kenny, iconic.
100%. And I think Amy and Kenny work really well together, but it's interesting that I think Dan and Kenny actually work together a little bit more than Amy and Kenny 5. As far as writing credits.
So Amy did 3.
Credits. Yep.
It was Amy and Dan, well, not Amy and Dan, LOL. Amy and Kenny had 3 episodes together. Dan and Kenny had 5, and I put 4 by other. Because it was a bunch of others.
Yeah. But the episode after They Shoot Gilmore, Don't They? Is just 2 away. It's a deep fried Korean Thanksgiving in season 3, which of course is
they gave him a week off.
They gave him 1 week off, and then they said, "Come back,
come back, buddy."
In a deep fried Korean Thanksgiving, I was trying to kind of find the dance of and the blocking that could have that Kenny Ortega lens on it. And I don't know that I necessarily found anything specific, but what I felt kind of mirrored Dance Marathon in taking the dancing out of it is exactly what you said, allowing everybody to have their moment, because there is so much happening in this episode. They have 4 Thanksgivings and so many different characters.
That's what I was going to say.
Nobody is in the same location with the exception of the Gilmore Girls at the same time. So they're building 4 different worlds essentially between the Kims, Suki's house, Luke Steiner, and the Gilmores. And the girlies are traveling through all 4 of them in the same episode. And that does take a very specific level of choreography. And the only dance that I could really speak to is the dance that Dean tries to dance with Jess at the end of this episode.
I was going to say that. Dean and Jess in the alley together. Like, he was like, this is getting a little too West Side Story for me. I'm like, okay, this is directed by Kenny Ortega.
They start snapping.
Yeah, they're snapping. Like, I did I put Taylor Swift songs on Saturdays on Instagram. I put Taylor Swift songs over Gilmore Girls scenes. Not always, some other kinds of music too. But I did that one this weekend because it's just like it feels like he wants to dance. Like it feels like they're gonna have a dance off, something, face off.
Yeah. It's true. Well,
I love that scene.
Speaking of Face Off, that is the next episode that Kenny Ortega directed. Season 3, episode 15. And this is the episode where they have the hockey game. And
it's a hockey game. Trix is there.
Trix is there.
She sees her kissing the man in the tracksuit.
Oh, yeah.
This is the good thing about being done with Gilmore Revisited is now I feel like I'm like off leash. Yeah. I can like just rewatch episodes willy-nilly. So I did rewatch a lot of these episodes. This one was also written by John Stevens. This falls under the category
this was written by John Stevens.
Of Concert Interruptus fame.
Big love for John Stevens.
And by that, we mean he was featured in Concert Interruptus.
Yes, he's the guy next to Lorelai and Suki when they're cackling and giggling. Yeah. And he's like, I really don't think this is funny.
Yeah.
He's offended.
But he's written several episodes, but this one included. And I tried to like find that like, I guess, sort of choreography feeling to it. I was like, the hockey game.
The hockey game, the ice skating, there is a dance there. In some ways, there is a lot of movement that needs to happen. I'm thinking of Dean coming up to Kirk. He's like, hey, Kirk, some of the guys, not me, but some of the guys really want to hit you in the face if you don't shut up. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Also, Dave Rogowski running.
Oh my God, the run.
Yeah. But I feel like this one is kind of falling into that camp. There's like two sort of Kenny camps, if you will.
Yeah.
Kenny episode camps where it's like it really feels like his presence was a true vision there in terms of like they shoot Gilmore's, don't they? Versus like this feels like a regular episode that he's directing, and it's a good episode.
I love
it's a fantastic episode.
They didn't just bring him in for episodes that required the exact discerning eye that we were just talking about when it comes to They Shoot Gilmore's, Don't They? And later episodes like You Jump, I Jump, Jack, Friday Nights Are Right for Fighting, which are like, oh, this is so notable that Kenny directed this because this is choreographed in a very specific way that they brought him in for episodes like Face Off and other ones that we'll talk about in just a minute. But I love that.
I loved it too. And I like that's the thing is like when you see Kenny's name, regardless of the fact if something spectacular is happening.
Yeah.
Because like
it doesn't have to be a spectacle.
And like as much as things can be a spectacle in Stars Hollow, it's like it's very specific. But I just feel like sometimes he's just there directing a really good episode.
Yeah.
Like a good episode in particular is A Family Matter in season 4, written by Dan.
Directed by Kenny.
Directed by Kenny, of course. This was one of those episodes that like it ends, well, like the big Luke storyline is that Jess's car has gone missing and they find it at the end. And he was like, I couldn't do anything about it because it was registered to the guy who took it. He was like, well, it's mine. And he goes, no, and then Luke says, Jess Mariano. And you're like,
and he comes out and it's just so good.
Boy, does he come out.
Yeah.
But I feel like what's really interesting about that is that when Dan and Kenny are doing episodes together, I feel like there's like kind of an arc with them. Because like from A Deep Fried Korean Thanksgiving, we have that sort of like back and forth with Dean and Jess. But like it's like this new thing with Jess. It's like a family matter because it's Thanksgiving, but then we flip forward to A Family Matter and Jess is angry to be back in Luke's diner. So like seeing those sort of like connect to each other a little bit feels right. It gets a lot more, I feel like, apparent as we move through the rest of the series with Kenny and Dan. But I was trying to kind of like connect those, and I feel like it's just like something about Dan and Kenny. Man, all their eps were so good.
Yeah, for sure. And before we move on from season 4, I do want to note, because there was of course some research I did on Reddit, because I was like, what are the people saying about Kenny on Reddit? Does anybody have any insight?
Do they like it?
Yeah.
I don't go to Reddit and look up Gilmore Girls. I'm afraid I'm gonna see us.
No. No. I wanted to know if anybody had any insight on the history of Kenny Ortega and how he was kind of introduced into the world of Gilmore Girls. I didn't find that, but what I did find was...
I know, it's so hard to find anything about Kenny and his relationship to the show and how it began.
Well, that's why I think it's a perfect opportunity for us to just chat
we're going
with
to talk
him.
to Kenny about it.
But what I loved is that someone mentioned that Monique Coleman, who played Taylor in High School Musical, she is in an episode in season 4 at the Yale Daily News. And at the end of High School Musical 3, senior year, she's going to Yale. Her character is going to Yale. And I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. However, debunking it a little bit, it is, you know, season 4 of Gilmore Girls took place in what, 2003, 2004? This was long before High School Musical. But I really do wonder if that was, I don't know if they would think that deeply about it and place that Easter egg inside of High School Musical.
She would know.
She would know.
Kenny might remember.
Maybe. But I thought that was a really fun tie-in.
Oh, fun.
Because it was definitely like her being in college took place before her being in high school and High School Musical. So I don't know that we can necessarily directly correlate them.
Sure, we can.
I thought
It's
it was
Hollywood.
Really fun.
Oh, I do like
what
that.
What a fun little tidbit.
What a fun little tidbit.
She was not, however, in an episode that Kenny directed. She was in The Nanny and the Professor, which I believe was 2 episodes prior to A Family Matter.
But I feel like you would connect over shared history. You're like, oh my gosh, you directed Gilmore Girls. I was on an episode of Gilmore Girls. What episode? Oh, I was at Yale.
Yeah.
You have those conversations with writers, with the director, you know, to bond. But moving into season 5, Written in the Stars, written by Amy, directed by Kenny. I don't know why I forgot his name in the middle of his episode. Iconic ep. Great episode. Nothing of any sort of spectacle happens other than the introduction of Logan Huntsberger. And Lorelai walking down in her, or not her, in Luke's shirt to the diner.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, it's not that anything necessarily like spectacular happens physically in the form of dance, choreography, etc. But I love that he gets to direct a town meeting. I love that this is kind of an introduction.
A town meeting.
Yeah, a town meeting. I love though that the next episode he directs is You Jump, I Jump, Jack, and we're getting the introduction of Rory and Logan meeting. And then we're getting the introduction to their courtship. So I love that they kind of hold hands.
I feel like a lot of Kenny episodes actually are really holding hands.
Totally.
Because it's like from Deep Fried to A Family Matter to Written in the Stars with Logan and Rory, the wake, the town meeting, so many huge things happening. And then we get to You Jump, which like this is like classic Gilmore Girls. Written by Dan Palladino, directed by Kenneth Ortega. I honestly think one of their most important episodes that they do together because it spins off in various directions from this point of them together.
Totally.
And this is, again, when I was trying to, if you guys have the box set, you can go listen to Amy and Dan's commentary on this. They do mention Kenneth Ortega. I have to watch Titanic if I want to experience it.
I will watch it. I have I have 2 copies right here.
I actually don't. I have like the full box set. Yeah. I don't know if that's on the full box set because it's like a special. It's like a special episode, so I don't know if it's on the full series box set. But I definitely know it's on the season 5 box set. So if you guys want to hear them talk about,
I actually only have 1 copy of season 5, but I have it, so I can maybe take a little look-see, give it a little watch, and
give it a listen. I just remember we didn't watch all the way until like the Life and Death Brigade scene.
We didn't.
We just started it, and his name came up, and they're like, "Oh, our pal Kenneth," and I was like, "Does he professionally go by Kenny and personally go by Kenneth?" I was like, I have so many questions.
Yeah,
that only
it's the Dan Daniel of it all. You know,
it's the Dan Daniel of it all for sure.
Yeah.
But that one just makes so much sense that he's there because it's not only about the stunt itself, it's about the movement of people in that event of, you know, the safari-esque woods night that they have. And then the next morning, all of the people standing around doing all of the games and the activities and shooting the paintball guns at the people, mostly Finn. And
mostly Finn.
Finn.
That is a very choreographed event. Yeah. The entire thing is orchestrated very deliberately from a directorial lens.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to
choreographed quite specifically.
Yeah. It's not just about the jump with the umbrellas. Everything
No.
around it is moving. As you said, like the entire background, it's almost like a carousel around them is moving as they need to be the central focus, and it's done so well. And for those reasons, actually, you know, I know that we moved on from season 4. I was surprised to see that he didn't direct last week Fights, this week Tights. And it's not just about the dancing. It's about like the artistry and the theatrics that surround it.
Yeah,
that
I agree.
I could have seen him directing that episode for sure.
Good episode.
Great episode.
Yeah, I could have totally seen him doing that. Yeah. Especially like in You Jump, when Rory and Logan are having that conversation and they're like monologuing back and forth to each other, the way that they're moving through that, they're like walking and then they stop and then he moves very specifically, and the way they walk away, like it's very clear that this was blocked to what was going on around them, what they were saying. And it just feels like, you know, it feels like Kenny's there. He's moving them. You can see him guiding them through this moment. And I would really, really love to know if that's true, or if that's just me projecting Kenny into the moment because I know he directed it.
Yeah.
Or if there was like Amy in this as well, which of course there was.
But I think that's part of the beauty of Kenny Ortega and his partnership with the Palladinos, and why he directed so many episodes is because like there is a specific cadence to not only their voice, but there is a specific tone to the way that they direct the show. And I think that he hit that stride really well.
Yeah.
And there's actually something kind of cool about that, you know, I couldn't tell that the next episode, Emily Says Hello, was directed by Kenny Ortega, because it's in the style of exactly what I was going to say, the Gilmores, basically the Palladinos.
Yeah.
That's how they direct. That's the tone that they set for their show. And he fell into it so perfectly.
And that always interests me. And this is like, again, this is like a lot of, I actually quite honestly feel like very glad that we're doing this episode before we would talk to Kenny, because now I'm like coming up with all the questions that I really want to tap into.
Yes.
I want to know what the difference is between him directly directing an episode like You Jump, where it's a big spectacle, and then flipping over to, especially with Dan as the writer, one of the Palladinos as a writer, then flipping over to Emily Says Hello as the director for like a less spectacular sort of episode that is no less good, but is written by someone who isn't a Palladino, because this one was written by Rebecca Rand Kirshner, who is most notable because she is one of the only series writers, or the original series writers, who goes on to write in season 7.
Yes.
Her and David S. Rosenthal are the only previous writers who move into season 7. Great episode. We really enjoyed this one. This was one, kind of like a surprise for us that we really enjoyed it as much as we did. Is that the hand of Kenny, or is like this like more of a partnership between him and the Palladinos directing this? And so that's definitely something I would want to find out from him, is like, what was it like to direct alongside an episode they wrote versus direct alongside an episode that they didn't write, even though their hands are in everything? Like how does that work?
Yeah. And just in general, how to, you know, move through, like you said, directing episodes that are like these heavy hitters, like They Shoot Gilmore's, Don't They? And You Jump, I Jump, Jack. And then kind of, I don't want to even say shrinking. That might not be the right word, but just like trying to direct this show that where Amy famously loves to make the big small and the small big. Like, how do you transition between those two things from a directorial standpoint? I would really be interested to see how you move through, or how he chose to move through those.
And also because TV is notably like the showrunner is really the one who's in charge versus like on a movie set, the director is really the one who is guiding, who's at the helm.
Yeah.
So like what the difference between that is. But I think that it really makes a lot of sense that he would direct like kind of like, I'd call them simple just because no one's jumping off of scaffolding.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
But it's because like in those episodes and You Jump, it feels really natural.
Yeah.
Like it's like he brings this like naturalistic style to those big moments, like in the runaround. But even to Emily Says Hello, it all feels like it falls very naturally and like very lifelike, because it is life. They are not cartoons. But it just feels like it all fits really well. I will say the next one, Come Home, which was written by Jessica Queller, is one of our least favorite episodes in season 5.
It definitely is, but I do think that Emily Says Hello and Come Home, they hold hands.
They do. They hold hands. Like within the story itself, they really do.
These are bookends for all intents and purposes, especially with Emily's storyline. It's the Simon McLean story. And so
Simon McLean.
Kenny kind of is
Spectacle.
the one.
There's a car accident.
There is a spectacle. There is a car accident for sure. And that does require a bit of choreography. But that does lend itself to, you know, I enjoy that it was the same director who is kind of taking us on this journey. You know, even though I'm not a big fan of this episode as a whole, we're also building up to something that is so spectacular. Which is, of course, what
that's the word of the episode.
Yeah, spectacular.
Which he did not direct, but I do like you pointing out that those arcs really are connected in Emily Says Hello and Come Home, because like Emily Says Hello, we loved that episode. Come Home, we were like, we didn't even know that we didn't really love this one, but
yeah,
I think overall it's just because there's a lot of heavy hitters in 5, especially a lot of heavy hitters that he does quite well.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And speaking of heavy hitter, the next one he does is like one of the ultimate episodes, and this is why I'm so like glad that we're like seeing the true arcs, because the next one is from season 6, episode 8, Let Me Hear Your Balalaika's Ringing Out, written by Dan Palladino, directed by Kenny Ortega. Why Did You Drop Out of Yale by Jess Mariano.
Yes. Correct. I was kind of talking to Brett about this before we got on, and telling him about the episode today and like what we were doing. And
what did he think?
Well, because he's, with the exception of Knit People Knit in season 7, he's seen all of these episodes. And I was like, you know, we're talking about the Kenny Ortega directed episodes today. And I was listing off some of them, and he was like, those are like some of the best / most iconic episodes of Gilmore Girls. And I was like, yeah, exactly. I said, but I had no idea that he was behind the camera when Jess Mariano said, why did you drop out of Yale?
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, come on. But speaking of holding hands, You Jump holds hands so clearly.
Speaking of bookends.
Yes, because that's like the Rory and Logan, like one of my favorite parallels in the whole series, which is Rory and Logan when in You Jump, when he says it's your choice, Ace, and she says, let's go. And then on the other end of it, she says, in Balalaika's, she says, I don't want to go. And he says, do whatever you want, it's your choice. And it's just like these gorgeous moments with Dan and Kenny, who I just imagine are like skipping through those scenes as they're happening, because they're just such gorgeous bookends.
Yeah.
But also bringing it back to like Deep Fried, because that's when like her and Jess have like that like cutie moment. Like when they get back from Thanksgiving, they like kiss, and then Dean sees it happen. But also they shoot Gilmore's when like that all happens, and then A Family Matter when they have this, when she sees him through the window. And then when we get back into Jess coming back again, Jess's return once again. He loves to do Jess's return.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's like there's all these like, if we were making this on a wall, we'd have like strings
attached to everything
to like connect all the arcs that he does, because I just feel like that one really is pivotal.
Well, the You Jump I Jump Jack to Let Me Hear Your Balalaika is very, very iconic. I mean, and I
but not for like the big iconic moments. It's really just like those little lines
again, like something so small that is made big by our podcast, and of course with the intention that Amy had behind it. And
sorry, something so small that is made big.
So small that is made big. Yeah,
it's all in the details. The details are the big moments here, and I love that in a Kenny Ortega episode, which feels grandiose in a lot of ways, but it's always that little moment. It's always the little moments.
And I love that they're both written and directed by Dan and Kenny respectively, and there has to be so much intention behind that I love, like looking at those little details.
Because looking at Deep Fried, looking at Family Matter, You Jump, Let Me Hear Your Balalaika's Ringing Out, all Dan, which then the next episode, not to like gloss over Let Me Hear Your Balalaika's, but it's just really that Jess moment that really gets you, because there's like not like a ton else going on in that episode that doesn't feel outside of just like the very natural quality of a Gilmore Girls episode. He Slipping a Bread Dig is Thanksgiving.
It is.
And so what's Kenny doing? Coming back for another Thanksgiving
episode.
The only other Thanksgiving episode written by Dan, directed by Kenny.
Yes. Crazy.
And I just feel like that's so perfect.
So fitting.
Yeah. Also musically inclined.
Yes.
We have Lane's band. I don't know. I call it Lade band. Lane's band performing.
Yeah.
Hep Alien, if you will. But yeah, this is the dig part, right?
Dig.
Or is this the slipping of bread? No, I think this is the dig part.
Yeah.
This is dig. This is dig. Yeah, you're so right. Because we have the tambourine, Joel,
famously.
We gotta bring in Kenny Ortega for the tambourine moment, of course. Of course. But I just love that in terms of an arc, we're bringing Kenny back for Thanksgiving, and perfect.
I love it.
Nuts.
I love that they're tied together by arguably like two of the only true holiday episodes that we get from Amy and Dan. I know we have a little bit of Christmas sprinkled in there, but for the most part, they really celebrate. Yeah, they really celebrate Thanksgiving on the show. That is something that's done
which we
twice.
learned in Kelly's memoir. They love Thanksgiving,
and I respect that completely.
I love that for them.
Or
should we have a Thanksgiving special from the Gilmores versus a Christmas special?
Well, we've never
would be
gotten
really
a Christmas special, so I think
I know,
that
but like there is something that's really great about that. But like knowing how much the Palladinos love Thanksgiving and that we never got Christmas, and I'm kind of okay with it if we had another Thanksgiving special.
I think that they will figure out what's best for the Gilmore Girls universe in that like they'll either go seasonal or because I don't even know if it would be a Christmas special or if it would be like a holiday winter special.
Because they do prefer a season.
They do prefer seasons, but we'll see. We have thoughts about that later this year.
Yeah,
and I can't wait to share.
But I want it so much.
Ever
since Lauren Graham said it, I'm always been the one that's like, no, we don't need any more Gilmore Girls. And then Lauren Graham said, how about a Christmas special? I said, yes, me. Sign me up. I'm first row. I'll buy a ticket. Doesn't exist, but I've already got a ticket. So
I love it.
My mind can change at a moment's notice, it seems, when Lauren Graham's involved.
Yeah, we're easily swayed over here. So moving into the last episode, that is a Palladino Ortega crossover collab.
The pinnacle, the ultimate.
It's pretty much the ultimate as far as I'm concerned.
This is it. This is the moment.
Friday Nights Are for Fighting. This is it. Yeah. And this was written by Amy Sherman Palladino, directed by Kenny Ortega. And you can just see it. You can see his handprints all over this episode. It's so good.
And it's not just that final scene.
No.
Because like that or it's not even just it's not the final scene, but it is the final real sequence. Of course, this is like hand cam. Someone called it the Real Housewives of Gilmore Girls, or like Hartford or whatever, Stars Hollow, where they are just fighting because Friday Night's All Right for Fighting, which is perfect. It's so clear that someone with this kind of eye is going to be the one behind the camera, especially on an Amy episode. It just feels so perfectly suited towards his abilities. But I think that even more so than that, it goes beyond just that, the way that the camera works throughout the whole episode, because Friday Night's All Right for Fighting is of course famous for the fight on Friday night.
Of course, yeah.
But this is also Rory and Logan saving the Yale Daily News because Paris has, in her hidey hole and is trying to take on the whole paper, and the paper's not going to go out. And on D-Day, the paper went out, whatever. And Rory's supposed to go on a date with Logan and she forgets. And then Logan shows up at the newsroom. And there's this camera move that I have always loved in this episode where when Logan walks in, the camera's pretty far from him, but it does like a really quick zoom into him. And I've always loved what the camera does there. And it just feels like different than what the Palladinos normally do. But I was like, it feels like Kenny. Like you feel him in this episode, like the way that everything is moving around, and like the chaos of the newsroom also feels like that movement of like needing that. And it's sometimes I think that episode surprises me that it's not a Dan episode. Like it's obvious that it's an Amy episode, but like the newsroom reminds me of town meetings sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I always feel like those are going to be Dan episodes, but that one's an Amy, which like doesn't mean that Dan wasn't involved in it, but it's that episode I feel like gets credited for the end of it, but throughout it really feels like there's like a ton of movement going on throughout. Because correct me if I'm wrong, is that also the episode where Lorelai sits in the window and watches April do her homework? And all the people push up behind her?
I think it is.
So like as far as spectacles go in Stars Hollow.
Yeah.
That's really is spectacle as it goes and like the naturalistic nature of it.
Totally.
Like the day-to-day of Stars Hollow.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to the one episode they brought him back for in season 7, which is Knit People Knit. And it's a towny episode, you know?
They're knitting for the old muddy bridge.
Yeah. And there is some musicality in there. What I meant to mention in Let Me Hear Your Balalaikas Ringing Out is that we do get that Balalaikas moment at the end.
Yeah.
With Rory and Emily, and they're trying to balance out kind of this scene with the balalaikas that are playing. So I do think that Kenny does that, like, balancing of music or choreography behind a conversation really, really well. And you could kind of apply the same lens to Knit People Knit if we even want to consider season 7 in all of this. That
we will. Yeah.
Because it's a town event. There's a lot going on. They have to zero in on some of these characters. Yeah.
But there's also like a lot going on in the square. So like there's like a lot of movement, a lot of things taking place.
But where I feel like I see him is actually in the 2000s party when Paris and Doyle are dancing in the center of the room. And it's Lucy's birthday party. I kind of see a lot of Kenny in that because it's giving like.
Is it 2001? Is that what they're doing? 2002. It's a 2002 party.
Yeah. And famously in 2002, Kenny was directing the opening for the Olympics. To really bring it full circle.
Can you imagine if there was just like flag holders, flag bearers?
But no, I can kind of see that like camaraderie of like younger folks in like how he's able to do that in High School Musical. And I could see that kind of that thread a little bit. But this one was a bit of a reach for me to kind of like find the Kenny Ortega within this episode. Mostly because I just find season 7 as a whole to be really tough to watch. But
yeah,
I'm glad that they brought him back for one episode, because if you can't have the Palladinos, like, you know, bringing someone in who can kind of put a little bit of that energy in there is important.
I don't know if I feel like, oh, I can't find Kenny in this because I don't see the Palladinos in it. And like, that's really where I see him aligning. Because like, I remember not hating this episode.
Oh yeah, no. This one was pretty.
We enjoyed it.
Yeah, enjoyable
for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think that he added that to it.
I agree.
It was written by David Gray. Different than David Gray. This is Grae. And I think that it just had that element to it that Kenny brings to anything that just that makes it feel enjoyable, feel good. But this is definitely a question I would want to ask him is, what was it like coming back to Gilmore Girls and not having Amy and Dan there?
Yeah.
It's like everyone else is the same. You've got all your most notable players, but you were only here, one season ago with your fave people, or maybe not his fave people, our fave people at least. That like, what was that like to come back without them?
Yeah,
with the Palladinos, Palladino pals.
Yeah.
So I would want to know what that was like for him. If it was really that different. Totally. I imagine it was very different because it was very different for most people. But that's definitely a question I would want to ask him. Which maybe this episode is just titled "Questions for Kenny Ortega."
Questions we'd like to ask Kenny Ortega. Himself.
Yeah.
But I loved doing kind of a deep dive into him and all of the episodes that he did and trying to really, you know, tie some of them together. Like you said, if we put them all up on a board and put some string up, it would be all over the place, which I kind of love.
Over the place.
I kind of love. But is there a favorite that you have? I know we talked about some being super, super iconic, but is there one that you're just like, this for me is the ultimate Kenny Ortega episode?
Well, see, the thing is like, you have to then think about what makes a Kenny. Are we thinking of like ultimate Kenny Ortega episode? Or is it like, this is the ultimate episode of Gilmore Girls and he did it? Because it's like.
Is it because you're torn between Friday Night's All Right for Fighting and They Shoot Gilmore's, don't they?
No, because here's the thing. They Shoot Gilmore's don't, like, if you're looking at these, a lot of these are on our top faves.
I know.
Like, They Shoot Gilmore's, don't they? A Deep Fried Korean Thanksgiving. Written in the Stars did not make our top 25, but it is up there.
Yeah, for
You Jump, I Jump, Jack was just barely, I think it was number 25.
Yep. Friday Night's All Right for Fighting.
But also, Let Me Hear Your Balalaikas Ringing Out. While it didn't make it, it still is like that iconic moment. So
she
I think
still is that girl. Yeah.
She so is that girl.
Honestly,
and like
between Friday Night's All Right for Fighting, They Shoot Gilmore's, and A Deep Fried Korean Thanksgiving, those are in our top 10.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, it's so hard to then look at it and be like, this is the ultimate. Because those top 3, 100% there. Like that's, you can, And I think that maybe because those, you can feel Kenny the most in them.
Yeah.
100%. Even in You Jump, which is number 25, which out of 157, what a slay.
Doing pretty great.
Like, she's doing pretty good for herself. But like, you think about what's iconic about that episode, and it is the spectacle. It is the event, the Life and Death Brigade event, which like, you can see him in that. You can't see him because he's directing it, but you can feel him in that whole moment. And so I'm like tempted to be like, that is so him. But then you look at the dance marathon and you're like, that is so him. And then you look at Friday Night's Alright for Fighting and you're like, well, that was so him too.
I
you know?
Yeah.
And
I totally
so
get it.
the answer is they shoot Gilmore's, don't they?
It is. And with all of that said, after the Gettysburg Address, I'd like to say they shoot Gilmore's, don't they?
Hear ye, hear ye.
Hear ye. But I do think he is most known for Friday Night's Alright for Fighting in the Gilmore Girls universe, because I think a lot of people affiliate that last sequence with him.
Of course.
And that's so understandable. Between that, You Jump, I Jump Jack,
understandable.
and They Shoot Gilmore's, don't they? I think a lot of people know, who are Gilmore Girls fans and are deep in the lore, that Kenny Ortega has his hands all over these episodes. But
well, that's actually what I was wondering, is like, how many of y'all like, was this like a surprise and you're like, whoa, Kenny Ortega directed on Gilmore Girls? Or if you're like, oh, I knew this, but not as expansive as this. Or if you're like, you guys were just
you guys were just reiterating information I've known for years.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be a spectrum, because for me, there are a lot of things here that I didn't know about Kenny until I did a lot of research last night and this morning. But hopefully you guys had fun learning a little bit more about him.
Yeah.
And I really,
we were all in
really,
this together.
Truly. Brett started singing that when I told him.
Wait, okay.
All in this
what
together.
episode was it where she said we're all in this together? And we were like, was that a High School Musical reference from their good friend Kenneth Ortega? Because we like did the kind of math of like
who said it?
Lorelai. Or it was, they were sitting in Luke's diner specifically. Maybe it wasn't Lorelai. Maybe it was Suki. I'm thinking it was maybe like in wedding planning or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. But we were trying to map out when like High School Musical would have come out versus like when Kenny would have worked on it. And like Amy and Dan probably would have known these songs that he was like choreographing to. And I can't remember what it was. Oh, this just came back to me when we said we're all in this together.
I don't remember, but maybe it'll come up when we do our rewatch.
That's quite some time.
I was going to say, we'll get back to you in about 3 to 6 months.
We'll get back to you next year. No, you know what I'm going to do between this episode and our next episode? I'm going to go through season 6, because I know there was a moment. I might even just go through Revisited and see when we talked about that, because there is a moment. You know, I honestly could probably go through my Revisited notes. I will get back to all of you and I will let you know. Or we will realize this was fruitless.
Either one. But
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to do a little deep dive on Kenneth Ortega
Mr.
himself. I loved it. I love learning and discovering like all the different crevices of the show and new things I maybe didn't know, tying them to other episodes. Just like, man, the lore runs deep.
The lore runs deep. Gilmore girls? Gilmore lore?
There you go. You got it.
The
You
Gilmore
got
lore.
there.
And I'm just like so interested how many of you knew all of this, if you were surprised that Kenny was in Gilmore Girls, if you knew, but like you didn't know it was this much. 'Cause it's quite a bit.
Totally.
It's quite a bit. I think to have the same director for 12 episodes in 153 episodes, that's pretty a lot. That's pretty a lot.
That's pretty a lot.
That's pretty a lot.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
a lot.
That's a lot. Well, I loved it. I loved going through these things, and I'd love to have a conversation with him. I hope we can bring him on and
Yes.
ask some more of the questions
Kenny.
to fill in some of these holes. Hey,
Hey,
it'll be
Kenny.
a lot of fun.
Come back to us.
As always, thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys like our show, leave us a little 5-star review.
Yeah. Kenny, give us 5 stars, right?
I think so. It really helps our show grow, and we love that we're kind of in the midst of our fall season, our peak time, if you will. And also be sure to follow us on Gilmore to Say podcast on Instagram, because we're going to post some photos of Kenny and
Gosh,
the life of a showgirl.
The life of a showgirl, the life of a showken.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so many that I came across today. So be sure to follow to pop over and see those.
Yeah.
We get our support from viewers like you.
It's
you
true.
want to watch on YouTube too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh gosh, YouTube's a lot of fun. You can head over to our YouTube and subscribe to get notified when our episodes go up, which is the same time as all of our episodes airing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yeah. I feel like you're going to want to tune into YouTube for our next episode.
Oh, 1000%.
If you were here last year for Halloween, we played a little game called Clue with a K.
Kirk's Clue.
Kirk's Clue. And I put a new spin on it this year that I'm excited to share with my friend Tara.
And we'll have more to say on that in the next episode.
We sure will.